Hi everyone. Good afternoon and happy weekend to everyone. We know that it's Friday and you all might be busy with your family, friends, and partying. So today we have a very special guest, Rakesh. So Rakesh is a very good friend of mine. Uh, we have been talking over different platforms like LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and all for a couple of times. And just to give you more context about Rakesh is an experienced recruiter, have worked with multiple product-based companies like Oracle, Microsoft, currently working with Splunk, and he is definitely good with sourcing and hiring diverse candidate for his current organization as well as for his past uh, organization as well. And in this session, basically, we want to share more information about Rakesh, like how was the journey of Rakesh and what he have done to grow to this level, right? So again, it's just an informative session where we can learn from each other. And yeah, so welcome Rakesh, and thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that you are taking out some time for I am recruiter community where we can help each other to grow and even to learn from each other as well.
Yeah.
Great. So why don't you quickly introduce yourself, Rakesh?
Hey, Praful. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this lovely podcast. And I've been following I Am Recruiter content from past few weeks, and I'm really impressed with the content and contributions you've been sharing on LinkedIn. So my name is Rakesh Mangla. I come with around 7 years of experience into tech recruiting. Currently working with Splunk as a TA partner from the last 8 months, and I hail from the city of Pearls, Hyderabad.
Even like I have been to Hyderabad couple of times. Definitely I love the food there, right?
Yeah.
And people again are very friendly. You and they you can talk to them very approachable as well, right? So I have visited multiple times to Hyderabad during my Adobe days, but now mostly because of my relatives and all. Can you talk a little bit about your journey? Like when did you started your career and how did you end up in recruiting and what make you become a tech recruiter?
So I'm an engineer turned recruiter, and just to call out, I'm a recruiter by choice and not by chance. During my graduation days, I was working as a training and placement coordinator, where we used to invite companies for campus drives, and that is where my interest started into recruiting, where I used to interact with recruiters who come to our campus for recruiting drives. So that's when I did my MBA HR after my graduation, and wanted to explore what's actually an MBA HR. And that's where I learned all the stuff in MBA, and then I was campus side in my first company. It's a mid-sized company called TA Digital. Um,
Okay.
and also, I'm those lucky or unlucky folks probably who didn't get a chance to work in those typical networking consultings where most of the recruiters probably start their career with as a recruiters. So after that, after TA Digital, I started with Oracle, and that's where I moved to Bangalore. Spent about I think 4 years. Now and then I started with Oracle as a talent sourcer and a research specialist, and that's where I skilled myself in hardcore sourcing and social recruiting, advanced sourcing techniques, and learned a lot of stuff from social talent and other open platforms. And alongside with this, I was also working, as a research specialist, where I typically did a lot of market intel reports. And that's where my love for data started. Like later on, I got promoted to a end-to-end recruiter role at Oracle. So after Oracle, I moved back to Hyderabad, joined Microsoft, where one of those dream companies for many folks who wish to work.
Yes.
And finally now with Splunk for the last 8 months, and that's a quick career snapshot, Prabhu.
Great. Awesome journey, I would say, right? From TA Digital and to Oracle to Microsoft to Splunk, right? But to be very honest, right, most of the recruiter, what we see, start their journey with consulting, then move. You are definitely the lucky one, I would say, right? So can you quickly tell me about like how did you started your journey in TA Digital and how did you get that opportunity?
So I think that I still remember it was just 4 days of time where I just stepped out of my college, and after I think on the fourth day, I just came back to Hyderabad, and I got a call like you have to attend for the interview, and it was a very quick time where I have to prep myself and attended the interview. Probably out of 50 odd people, I was actually selected along with one of my other colleagues. So two people were picked along with me as a campus freshers into the recruiting stuff. So I think at TA Digital, I mean, thankful to my leads there at TA Digital who actually made me passionate about social recruiting, and that's where the actual passion started towards sourcing, social recruiting, and learned LinkedIn stuff, X-rays, Twitter, all that stuff. So, and after that, when I moved to Oracle, I think social talent really helped me out to shape out my career, Praful.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that's very helpful for everyone, all the audience as well. It's not mandatory that you have to start your career with just a consulting firm, right? If you're well prepared, you can start from anywhere, I would say. And definitely your journey has been inspiring for everyone, I would say. Great. So moving to the next question, Rakesh. So can you also share some of your experiences in both positive or like learning opportunity for you from in terms of like you have been working with multiple hiring managers,
Yeah.
plus you have been working closely with multiple candidates as well. So can you share a couple of experiences from those moments, like good as well as bad or learning opportunity?
Right. So being a recruiter, right? So one positive thing is that you definitely get to meet a lot of people. People
Yes.
might be your hiring managers or candidates. And I think you have an opportunity to make impact in a candidate's life. Likewise, you can also make an impact in hiring managers team by hunting the best talent. So the kind of satisfaction for me as a recruiter, what you get when you hunt the right candidate and bring that to the hiring team, and when hiring team really acknowledge that, hey, there's a great talent, I think that's a moment which is really priceless for me. And secondly, people think that decline people who are candidates who probably decline the offer, right? That's kind of a negative experience for most of the recruiters. But for me, I would take it in a positive way, but let me explain that. So the
Sure.
reason is, for example, if a candidate declined the offer, right? I consider it as a positive thing because I feel that maybe the candidate doesn't deserve to be fit for that role, and probably I think candidate has taken a brave decision to decline the offer well in advance before the joining company. Rather, he or she join the company and then create ruckus in the hiring manager teams. That's going to be a really pain to the hiring manager. So that's not the kind of expertise or experience what I would like to give it to the hiring team. And so that's the only reason why I think it is as a positive thing. And on talking about the negatives, like being a recruiter, sometimes, maybe not all the times, sometimes we recruiters get sandwiched between the hiring teams and the candidates, especially when things go out of the control, where the job recs gets on hold, and the candidate keep chasing you a lot, right? And no matter how good you set the expectations of the candidate that, hey, I'm going to come back to you after so many days, but still candidate chase you, and sometimes we might end up giving bad candidate experience. So being a recruiter for me, I think that is that is something which I'm really concerned, and it could be a negative factor as well, right? So these are the things which are out of the control, and sometimes we might control, and sometimes which is really not in the hands, Prabhu.
Definitely agree. Candidate experience definitely matters a lot,
Yeah,
right? Being a recruiter, like uh, all the candidates follows you, right? And
yeah,
the experiences you provide them would relate and make them join the company, I
yeah.
would say, right? So
That's
in this moment, right, you mentioned about like the rec being on hold, or let's say like the budget is kind of paused and all those things. So how do you manage those kind of situation, Rakesh?
So basically, these are the situations where we probably get a heads up. Like when we get a requisition, right? We get a sense like, are we really actively and aggressively hiring, or is it like a backfill which can be filled in the next 3 months? And in few of the scenarios, what happens is the budget which is allocated for the job rec could be 1 quarter after the current hiring scenario, but we still start the hiring process now itself,
Yeah,
thinking that candidate comes with 3 months or 2 months of notice.
notice
Like
period.
probably 1 or 2 months might take for recruiting, and after the candidate another, he will take or she will take 2 months of 3 months of time to come and join us. So in this scenario where the candidate is an immediate joiner, or sometimes or candidate is actually has just already serving the notice, so these are things which I feel are not in our control. Like, we though we set the right expectations, business still want to go slow, and and candidates don't really understand. And sometimes we can be transparent, sometimes due to the business commitments we might not be able to say that, hey, this is a slow rec. But I think we strive for candidate experience at the end of the day, Praful.
That's the best way to become a great recruiter, I would say, right? Experiences matter for everyone, right?
Yes,
If we apply for any job, like if we don't get the experience, nice, definitely we won't be joining that company, right?
exactly.
Great. So moving to the next question. So do you have any kind of, like, you have been working in the industry for almost 7 8 years now, right? So
Yeah.
do you have any kind of suggestion or guidance for any aspiring recruiter or fellow recruiters or sourcer who wanted to become a recruiter? Any kind of tip or advice what they can follow?
It's a great question, Praful. A lot of people ping me on LinkedIn, like, what can we do? Like, especially the people who just started the career into recruiting, right? So I think I can share my experience probably when I
Sure.
was hiring in one of my previous companies for recruiters, where I was involved in the hiring process. So what I feel, one thing is very important for recruiters is upskilling. Keep upskilling yourself. The pace at what the things are actually changing in recruiting industry is really very fast, and it's always important for us to keep updated with the latest stuff, right? For example, when I started my career back in 2017 versus now, right, almost 7 years, close to 7 years. So I've seen n number of automation tools, or Chrome extensions, we call it, as that came in
Yes.
and they just went out. And the latest talk as on today is that X-ray will be dead in India very soon. And it is kind of a news for passionate sources and recruiters who rely on Excel searches, but really we have to wait and watch. So keep yourself updated. Read blogs, recruiting blogs. Follow. I mean, you can also follow a lot of iconic recruiting influencers. I personally follow Dean DaCosta and Irina, and also network with a lot of people. That's when you get to learn new things as well, right? And secondly, whatever you think about recruiting, right? Think from three different angles. I mean, this really changed, the way I think, which I learned in my previous organization. So think on three angles, which are what, how, where, right? This actually gives us a lot of clarity and passion when you drive things. So when you think on these three things, you'd be definitely be successful, is what I always feel, Praful. I think there are multiple things, but I feel these are the top picks to be a successful recruiter.
Great. I definitely agree with all the points you have mentioned. Definitely, I would say that networking is very important. Plus, keeping yourself up to date is also very important, right? So, any kind of, like for the basic recruiter who wanted to just start, right? h- any kind of suggestion how they can start like doing their networking,
Yeah.
right? What is the best way to network with people?
So, for someone who's just budding in the career as a recruiter, so the first thing is, like, a lot of, especially the junior folks, they send invites to multiple people in a shot. No, that's not good. It's not going to work out. Why? Because you would be flagged out in on LinkedIn. Your profile will be flagged if you do that. So rather, what you can do is figure out, especially the junior folks. It's very important for them to network with people, speak to senior people, exchange thoughts, and attend networking events, read blogs, and think beyond, right? I mean, whatever you learn, right? Try to build on top of that. So that's how you think out of the box, and that will be helpful for the junior folks to be very successful in their careers.
Totally agree. Great. So moving to the next question, right, Rakesh? Again, like we are the forefront of every company, like all the recruiters, I would say,
Yeah.
right? We talk to candidates each day, most of the time with candidates and all, right? Any tips or advice for the candidates, like in terms of experiences wise, what kind of experience they should provide to the company or to the recruiters, or any other suggestion or guide you have?
So I always believe that any individual who's looking out for job change, or probably who might not be looking out for job change as well, shouldn't lie with three important people in life. One is a lawyer, doctor, and I always say recruiter. So that's what I say. Don't lie with your lawyer, doctor, or recruiter. Candidates can always be transparent. You should Recruiters should probably give that flexibility to candidates. If the candidate is coming to you and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to join your company," just one day before his or her date of joining, so that's absolutely fine. So you should be very, good to the candidates, no matter what, whether they're going to join you or not. So what happens is, I think in one of the scenarios where this exactly happened, just 1 week before the date of joining, one of the candidates declined the offer. And
Okay.
but still, I mean, keeping candidate experience in mind, I know it's a bit of emotional thing, especially when it is a niche requirement.
Yes,
But I
yes.
think I want to be, very grounded. I told him, the candidate, that, hey, that's absolutely fine, but can you help me with more references? So that's where we completely went into a different angle of getting more references, and and I was able to hire from his references. So that's one of the one of the most important or probably memorable situation what I can really remember for long. And second thing is resume sharing. I did write few posts on LinkedIn, like how do you send resumes to the recruiters, right? So when candidate is actively looking out for job change, you apply and you sit back, it's not going to work out. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to chase people. Why? Because recruiters have piles and piles of resumes, and the more you chase, you have higher chance of getting interview calls. And again, when I say chase, don't spam. Be respectful. Be probably follow up in a very professional way, right? And that's going to help. And one last thing, what I recently felt is personal branding is very important. No matter which profession you're a developer or recruiter or maybe a content creator, doesn't matter. Personal branding is very important if you are very passionate about what you're doing. So if you do things and if you're not able to brand or probably showcase, the idea is to not showcase, but the idea is to help people know your knowledge and you learn from their experiences. So I think these are few of the tips which I feel are very important, Praful, especially for candidate who are open for opportunities.
I think I like all the 3 points, but major focus will be definitely personal branding and relationship building from there. How you have got those referral, right?
Yeah,
So definitely, I would agree that these days personal branding is very very important, right?
yeah,
So there are many AI tools coming up into picture, right? There are many different contents available in the market, but how it differentiate you from others, right? Through
yes,
this personal branding, I would say we
yeah,
have lots of knowledge, but if we are not using that knowledge to share with others, it's not of use, right?
absolutely. That's right.
And and
And just to add, Praful, like we have a lot of bunch of AI tools, in fact, to brand your profile. But what I always feel is be natural. Like, you
yes,
talk about AI, but be natural. Like, don't completely depend on ChatGPT or probably other AI tools. Just copy paste doesn't really work. Even if you do that, I'm a believer that you're not going to get, probably the attractions or probably the impressions what you expect. But when you're natural, right, you really don't even bother about that impressions or other stuff. So
yep.
things naturally flow is what I feel.
So I can also give you one example, right? So what initially when I started sharing contents and all those things, so initially I was not having much aware. So what I did was I just went to AI, used some content, posted. It hardly got some likes or
Yeah,
comments, right? So when I write things, but again I use AI to modify or to make it more nicer way to express the things. So in those contents I got more visibilities, I
yeah,
got more responses as well, because it had those human touch. It is not just copy paste, right?
that's right.
But again, I can also advise that like it's everyone's different journey. You have to
Exactly.
learn on your own. It's just our experiences we are sharing with you, right? So what we have learned, but it might be working with you, it might not be, but again you
Absolutely.
have to learn on your own.
Exactly. Yeah. Agree.
Perfect. Great. So since we are talking about AI, right? So what's your thought on AI in recruitment, and do you see AI kind of a threat or AI as a friend?
Great question. So I think this is a hot topic, for discussion in recruiting currently, right? My take on AI impacting recruiting is that it's not going to eliminate your jobs. Rather, it will actually help us eliminate those repetitive and operational tasks which we do on a day-to-day basis. I'm a strong believer in that. And so using AI bots, right? See, AI bots are basically like your friend for a recruiter, right? Who helps us in performing of the tasks that rather faster and quicker than the actual time. So probably that is the reason why Microsoft has actually named it's a bot as copilot, meaning a pilot is something who will drive from the front,
Yes.
whereas copilot is something which is kind of an assistance. So AI, the data feeding is something which we are doing at the end of the day, right? And AI is still evolving, Praful, and in recruitment especially, right? If you see, it has not taken over end-to-end recruiting. End-to-end recruitment process, right from probably JD creation to the onboarding. It has been in bits and pieces, but it's not covered the entire cycle of recruitment. For example, last week I was actually on a call with one of the AI provider. So we just got on a call with the AI provider. He was actually explaining about the AI tool. So what the tool does is it sits on your ATS, and when you dump the resumes or probably integrate the tool with the ATS, what it does is when you just click on that one click, it will actually filter the list of resumes where basis the job description, what you're looking, it basically attract the key skills. The key skills and primary skills, and it will actually give you tags. So with the help of tags, it will prioritize the resumes like basis the relevancy and all stuff. So here AI, what it is doing is it is just giving you the data. It is not filtering out the entire content saying that, hey, you have to speak only to this. So at the end of the day, you can actually speak to the candidates with whom you like and with whom you relate to. Why? Because I'm very sure AI really doesn't understand the gaps in the resume, if there are any professional gaps, career gaps, if there is any period of time that is missing. So that is where recruiter has to come in and pitch in to understand more about that. So this is my take on AI in a nutshell. I think it's a long way to talk about that. For now,
Yes.
I think it's a co-pilot for us, and we really have to make use of that, Praful.
Totally agree, and I think it's just a beginning, right? We have
Yeah.
to just wait and watch how it goes, and definitely agree. It's just a co-pilot. We have to give the human touch. We have to make the decision, right? It can just provide us data and everything. We can't
Yeah.
completely rely on data. We have to go and verify as well.
Yep. That's right.
Great. So moving to the next question, like, so currently in the industry, right, there are lots of ups and downs happening in the economy and lots of layoffs and other things happening all around. Like, so how do you see the recruitment industry currently? Like, uh, and what do you think in by end of December, let's say 2024?
Yeah.
How do you see the market?
So this is the latest stuff. Again, probably 2 to 3 months back, there have been a lot of recruiters who are open for opportunities. But the best part is there are a lot of jobs that came up in the place. Probably if you see the recruiting industry, probably 5 years back, right? Most of the jobs were not full time. It's like contract to convert or contract to hire kind of opportunities. And probably with the shift, what happened in the recent last 1.5 or 2 years, the market has came to a place where the recruiters are being still hired on contract to hire. Most of the roles are being on contract to hire. So as of today, what I feel is we see a lot of recruiter jobs, no matter whether it is contract or full time, and that's a positive sign. Where as if any example, right? So any company, when the real indication happens is that when we start hiring for recruiters, so that is when it's a clear indication that, hey, things are actually moving in a positive
Yep,
direction.
yep, yep.
If you ask me, now we are in a very stable state. Probably, hopefully, that's going to be till the end of December, Profit.
Thank you for at least sharing your perspective, how you look the market and all those things.
Yeah.
And I would also agree with, like, if the economic changes, definitely some or the other way, we recruiter also get impacted, right? If the economy boom, definitely we are the one who gets hired faster as well,
That's right.
right? Great. So, talking about like other things, right, related to your hobbies and all. So, we have been talking lots of serious discussion. So, I just wanted to
Yeah.
move a little bit about your personal life and all those things, like what you generally do, what you love to do, and in weekend, what generally you do.
I'm a people person. I really love meeting people, known or new. And apart from recruiting, I'm a really passionate rider, not a driver. So I'm actually a part of good number of rider communities in Bangalore. And apart from this stuff, apart from this, free time, usually on Saturday, Sundays, I spend a lot of time with new people, friends, or maybe if I'm really bored, I sit at home and just groom my house. As simple as that. And also one, probably I call it as hobby, is I spend at least 2 to 3 hours every week to reskill myself, no matter what, if it is just as simple as just reading a blog or reading a LinkedIn post, or as harder as going through some typical trainings related to recruiting, right? So I want to challenge myself. So I do that probably. I've been doing this from the last 5 to 6 years, and I really see the value add. So I think these are the things which I do off recruiting. But yes, recruiting is my primary job.
Yeah, you also agree, like, in single day you can make a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
You take a small steps, right? And once
Yes.
you take a small steps, like suddenly you will get to know that hey, you have already completed the journey,
Yeah.
right?
That's
And
right.
you also mentioned about riding, right, as your hobby or passion, right? So do you ride bikes, any specific bike, or like what, or car, what do you do?
No, I have my own bike, so I mean, whenever we go for rider communities, right, we get to ride our friend's bike. So that's a different experience, and rider stories are always interesting.
Yes, yes.
It's we don't only talk about our journeys to when we go for riding, but we speak about our personal experiences in riding, and that's an exposure as well, right? So that's really lovely to have it.
Can you also share one of the craziest like hobbies you have pursued?
Craziest hobbies. Okay, so I think swimming is something, I tried doing it. Like, I call it craziest for the fact being I tried thrice, but I'm really scared of water. Whenever you get into water, I really get probably scared, and that is something which I really don't want to go. So I did try the craziest hobby, but never been successful in that. So probably that you can consider me as a failure.
Okay. Even for me, I don't know to swim, to be very honest. Even I tried multiple times. I have grown almost like uh, 3 4 times might be. My friends have saved me
Oh,
multiple times, but still I don't know to
yeah, but
swim.
ask your friends. Right.
Great. So what I was asking, the question is like, since we have seen lots of companies focusing on diversity hiring, right? And even if we see not only companies but also government are taking lots of different initiatives to increase the awareness, to giving lots of benefits as well to attract more and more diverse talent come to not only work but again like into lots of different sectors, right? So why do you think it's important for any organization or government or anyone?
So if you see the diversity, how it evolved in the last probably again, I would like to compare the diversity standpoint from where I started recruiting in 2017 versus now. I think diversity is a priority for every company, and I really love hiring diverse talent, and I strive for that. I did a lot of projects which I'm going to speak about. So I think a lot of people has this perception, right, that diversity is only hiring women talent. But there are many categories in diversity hiring. You talk about veterans or LGBTQs or disability or racial, which is not in India, but again in US, if you see, there's a lot of racial discrimination, right? That's the reason we encourage that. And apart from that, we also have age, sex, cultural diversity, and the list is really big. Yeah, so we should rather call women talent as women in tech, rather calling them as diversity talent, which most of the companies often feel offensive, right? So I think it's very important, and I think few of the programs which have taken part in the past with respect to diversity are. I did work on PWD hiring, which was completely from scratch, building up the process, and like how do we hire people? What are the things that we have to take into consideration when we hire PWD people? Which roles we can fill? What kind of what kind of business we can actually tap in, and also to have a PWD talent coming to office, we have to really check whether our office buildings are supportive or not, right? So all that stuff I did in a project in the past, and I mean that's a really great experience. And apart from that, there's a project called as Women Back to Work. It's a lot of people are doing, right? So that's a very generic topic. I did work on that as well. And diversity branding is something what I personally like, especially when you as an organization, right? You have to really speak about your culture, right? And when we promote a short podcast or a videos where we have diverse talent speaking about it, about the why they love your company, right? That's actually an attraction of more talent. So which actually speaks about the real the culture of an organization. So I feel these are the few things which really make the diverse as a I mean as a important factor, Praful.
You have definitely been doing lots of different programs or projects in your organization or previous organization, let's say,
Yeah.
right? So one of the challenge what I personally have faced, right? So we definitely have good when we are calling it currently it's just a gender diversity in most of the companies,
Yeah.
right? So we have the base level, we are able to fulfill the ratios, the percentage and all, right? But when literally it goes to upward in the ladder,
Yeah.
right? So you see very less percentage of women leader applying or in the market available, right? So how do you think we can solve that problem, Rakesh?
Right. So I did a research recently on the leadership roles, like what is the diverse talent available in the leadership roles. So interestingly, there are about in India there are roughly around, again this data is not 100% accurate, but it should be roughly around 12 to 15%, especially people who are already in that leadership roles. So that makes our jobs a little tough whenever you are actually attracting women in tech for the leadership roles. What we can do, right? Like there are people who just stick to the organization, especially the women in tech talent, is to stick to the organization for so many years, and
Yes.
that's where our job really gets tough to convince them to, come to our organization, right? But if you're not able to hire that particular talent who is not willing to move out, but we can definitely get some references, or maybe we can map their organization or the teams to get some diverse leadership talent profile.
Gradually they start their career. Once they reach some 5 6 years, they generally start their families and all. So once they start their family, there are lots of uh, mothers who need to drop
Yes.
from their jobs, right? So how do you think we can solve that problem as well?
I think that is where Women Back to Work is a kind of program which really helps people who are on break. But again, like it's not for all the women in tech talent. There is a criteria: someone who's on break for the last 1 year, 2 year. Most of the companies accept that range. But what I've seen is, especially for few of the companies, started hiring diverse talent who are on break for more than 3 years or 4 years, right? So people should be, especially diverse women in tech talent should be aware of this companies. So the one way what they can do is they should be active on LinkedIn, search for the companies who give priority to diverse talent. I mean, hiring a diverse talent, right? When you follow the company updates and all, that's a feeder for them to see that hey, this company is actually hiring talent with a lot of gap. So that's where I think that's one of the strategy what we can use to attract diverse talent who've been on break for longer time. Profile.
Point which you have mentioned, we can definitely increase the awareness, plus we can do lots of searches and other things. But other one problem what I also see is like, since we have multiple options available, right, and we have so much of data available in the market, sometimes it's
Yeah.
become very crowded for the people who are actually looking for that particular job, and
Right.
it gets lost as well,
Right.
right? So do you see that as a problem, Rakesh?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I get you where you're coming from. So it's like, we need one person, but we have hundreds of people who are irrelevant. Probably that we are trying to look out for that unicorn. So what happens is, I think to check this problem, what we can do is we can actually do tech talks, which could be a good idea, especially to attract people to come and speak, on a particular topic, or we can do podcasts like how we are doing this. So there are few other strategies. Probably, we can invite, do a kind of a hackathon, but maybe that might not work for a leadership roles, but especially for junior roles we can do a women specific hackathons and all stuff, which will definitely attract more diverse talent profile.
Definitely agree, Rakesh. Great. So now I have another topic which is again not related to recruitment but somewhat
Yep.
related to recruitment,
Yes.
about the community, right? So
Yep.
since we are, like, as you know, we are currently building this I am recruiter community, and the purpose of this community is to help the recruiters to come to this particular platform and share their knowledge what they have, right? And
Yep.
again, it's not about sharing the knowledge, but again to learn from others experiences instead of going through the whole process from ground up level, right? You can just go and learn, and your half of the effort will be resolved, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what we are trying to do. Again, like, I am recruiter, but we are also trying to solve here is, we see that there are multiple communities already available, right? But if we talk about talent acquisition community, there are mix of community available, but not primarily focused on TA communities is available
Yeah.
across the globe. I have seen, right?
Agree.
Uh, we don't have communities which, like, for example, companies recruiter doesn't talk to, like, the consultants, or there are multiple consultancy where there are good number of recruiters we have, right? We
Yeah.
don't have that talking to each other happening there, right? Again, on the other hand, it's not only IT recruiters. We have lots of other sectors as well, like the
Yeah.
industry, the chip, the automobile as well. So we have lots of different recruiters, but again, there is a whole lots of disconnect uh, within the TA community. So
Yeah.
this platform we're trying to build and help each other. So how do you think we can build this community more effective way, and how can we take small steps to reach our prime goal?
So, of late, I've seen a lot of communities coming up in the recent times, right? And I'm really impressed with what I am Recruiters has been doing. Like since as you mentioned earlier, right? This is exclusively for TA professionals. So to expand the people, right? Expand our network with the people. What we can do is we can invite guest speakers. One strategy is inviting the guest speakers to speak on a specific TA topic or recruiting topic which they are good in, right? It could be as simple as about sourcing new with new tools, or could be on diversity, or could be talking about the latest trends in recruiting, right? So we can invite those set of people to come and do kind of webinars. Second is obviously we probably can have a Slack community, or probably a wider community than WhatsApp, where we can exchange our thoughts, where we can actually share our thoughts. We can hear from others, like what they're going to respond to that. We can actually try to read others' brain, right? So that's going to help. And I think third, importantly, networking. Like thanks to 2020 for all the virtual stuff, what it has done for us, right? I think we have to just unlearn that. We have to really meet people. That's what I always believe in, right? So no matter how good you are with people on video or virtual, right? The in-person experience is always different. We get to learn a lot of new stuff. So we can definitely do some meetups, short meetups with few people, or maybe very segmented set of people, right? That's going to help grow the community profile.
We as a community try to call different speakers, share their experiences, we can learn from each other as well. Great. One other thing I also wanted to understand from you is, as a recruiter, right? There are multiple times when things works well, we are very much on a positive note, right? And
Yeah.
there's certainly not all the time are positive, right? So in those like downtime, right? How do you motivate yourself? How do you inspire yourself, Rakesh?
Thanks to my first boss in my first company, where like I learned failure is you have to accept failure. So even before you do something, prepare your mind that hey, you're going to fail. I mean, it's not like you're degrading yourself, but it's like when you do something, first prepare that things might not work. What are the repercussions? Probably what are the things you can do to overcome that? Prepare your mind that way, right? And second, I am a believer of having a plan B most of the times. Like I always plan things in advance, and if that doesn't work, I always have a plan B in place. So I think these two things, what I actually do to keep motivate myself. And third, very important thing is whatever happens in your professional life should not really come into personal life.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in that as well. So we have to manage that professional and personal stuff really, really good. So that's how you will be able to manage your personal stuff, which will not impact from your professional stuff, right? So I'm a big believer in that, Praful.
When you started your recruitment journey, right, Rakesh? So,
Yeah.
what are some of the smallest, silliest things you might have done or you have done?
In my
How?
first company, I was very passionate. I was very good to learn things, very faster pace. So it's like it's a typical fresher mindset, right? Like you want to learn things overnight and want to get an edge. So you want to see what's in the store. So what happened? There was a scenario where, I called a candidate. I called him for one of the role. He got selected, and after selection, what happened is I know that there's an approval process that we have to follow. So what I told the candidate, I actually texted him on WhatsApp, hey, you're actually selected. You're going to get an offer from, so and so company. And that was actually documented, right? And what happened is after probably 3-4 days of time, I got to realize that that requisition went on hold.
Okay.
So now the candidate came back to me and said that, hey, you are the one who committed that you're going to give me an offer, and that's actually written. And that's something which I cannot forget. It's kind of a situation where it kept me on tension for some time, but thanks to my manager who really supported. So unfortunately, the candidate was so desperate; he was out of job, and maybe I felt that's a learning. I mean, I take it as a positive way, right? I mean, sometimes I feel it very silly whenever I recollect that situation. How can you even do that, right? I understand you want to learn something, but not at the cost of being funky or silly. So this is a real time, scenario which I cannot forget, Praful.
We have to go through all the mistakes or trial and error, right? And it's a learning, right? Now you probably will not do the same thing, and you are sharing those stories so that other people, the budding recruiter or the sourcer, won't be doing that same thing.
Yeah,
Okay. So like what generally I during the interviews, right, what I try to talk or ask the candidates, right?
yeah,
So what's your priority, right, when you are trying to join a company, right? So what's your number 3 or 4 priorities? Generally I give them options like brand, like Microsoft or Google or Amazon, big brands. Do you want good brand, or do you want good work, like where you are so happy with your work, you get lots of opportunities, lots of learning and all those things? Or do you want work life balance, right? Or is it just for monetary, right? So the reason why I'm asking you this question was when after post COVID, right? Lots of When I asked people, lots of people told that definitely brand is important, other things, but money is the number one priority. What I have seen for most of the people, right? But after now, since the market is not that great, money is not that priority. What I have seen, right?
yes.
Do you have similar kind of experiences as well, Rakesh, with your
Like again, I reflect back to a situation where there was a candidate. He wanted to join my previous company, and apparently there was a startup who came in and just scooped up the candidate at the last moment, giving him X number of hike on his what we paid. So this was a scenario where after 2 months, the candidate realized that that's not his cup of tea, like because the role what it was committed at the time of interviewing versus the role what he is currently doing is there's no match. So he came back to me after 2 months, and he just told that, hey, I think I really want to come back. So if there are any opportunities, I'll be really glad to. And I think he joined after 2 months of time in my last company. So I was happy to that. But if you ask me personally, my take on that, Praful, is that thanks to all my managers in the past, where I got to work with few of the best managers in the recruiting fraternity, and like I got a lot of flexibility, right? Especially with respect to evaluating my thoughts to my manager and putting that thoughts into actions. So when you have a manager who is really reading you what you want to do and who's really concerned about your career, right? That's the role what people should focus, because compensation will be taken care. I think your growth, your flexibility, obviously, right? If a manager is really concerned about you, they'll look at your flexibility. They'll not burn you out. So I feel look for a good manager, good company, not a brand, but good, look for a good role, good company, and then obviously compensation at the last. And someone will be very lucky to have all this at one place.
yeah.
Don't leave that company for long. I mean, you should stay with that company for long.
Yes, agree the same thing. For most of the company which I've joined, right, Rakesh? So it was never for money or compensation, right? So I personally believe that if you are getting a good job where you are getting lots and lots of learning opportunity, just go for it, right? As if you're good with your things, rest will follow and you will grow in your career for sure, right?
Exactly. And I think
Great.
to this point, Praful, one more important thing is like, again, reflecting back to the start of my career back in 2017 versus now, probably 2016, 17, that time people used to look at the stability and growth part, all that is still good. But if you see how the market is shaping now, right? People are moving out of jobs. The average timeline people spending in a current job is like between 1.5, 2 years. So there could be multiple reasons, right? Compensation or the role or the company growth, which is not in the hands of a candidate.
Individual. Yeah.
So what I always feel, right, for any candidate who actually ping me and ask, hey, is it the right time? I mean, especially people who are asking for career suggestions. So what I usually do is I suggest that if you just go with your thought process, like if you're confident, like of moving out, please do that. So what happens is when we tell this to the people, they would be taking a decision on their own rather than me
Yes.
saying, okay, move out or don't move out. And if something goes wrong, they'll think that, okay, Rakesh or Profit suggested this,
Yeah, yeah,
and this
yeah,
doesn't go my way, right? So when you take decision on your own, all we can do is we can actually give the data points, we can give our experience to them. Decision making has to be individual's decision. So if something goes wrong tomorrow, right, they will be accountable, and that's a learning for them. So that's how people has to think, look at things from that perspective, Praful.
right. So for me personally as well, even I have done the same thing what you have done, right? Again, like building trust and making those relationship with your candidates is very important. Again, like I personally have initially I might have done. I when I was working in a consulting, I was focusing only on like filling the role, but in long term it doesn't like solve the problem, right? Those relationship matter a lot,
Yeah.
right? And for those relationship you have to give genuine feedback or suggestion without bothering about the end result, right?
That's right. And also for a recruiter, if you see, right, like since like especially for the budding recruiters, the more they evolve into the career, right, they get to also they have to look into pointers like diversity, candidate management. I mean, especially the candidate relationship management, hiring manager experience, and like obviously getting a good like upskilling themselves. I think these are the data for a budding recruiters which I'd like to share.
Okay, so have almost 7 8 years of experience. Like how do you divide, because we all have limited time, right? Work time, right?
That's
Again, we have our personal time, we have our work time. In that work time, how do you divide your time? Like how much time you focused for sourcing, how much you focused for hiring manager or stakeholder management or candidate management, and rest all the operations related stuff like offers and other things and all.
my stack is I go with the strategy of stacking the urgent things at top, like starting with Monday mornings. So like so that's how you plan your week. Like it's not like you plan your day at the morning, but rather you plan your entire week on a Sunday evening. And this is something which I've been doing for quite some time now. So that really helped me out. And again, like I don't say I'm a monk who actually is very good in managing time, but I do have scenarios where sometimes it goes out of your a forecast where you think that, hey, this I'm going to complete this, but it might actually stretch a bit more. So what always you need to do is I always believe in putting a reserve day probably on Friday evenings or Thursday evenings where you get a bit of extra time to fulfill the tasks which are incomplete. So that's how you can actually manage time, like just a nutshell, it's just like prioritizing top things to the stack and pull the lowest. So just give the priority numbers, and
Yep, yep,
so you can
yep.
manage your day and week.
I definitely agree. Like even once you move from a IC role to a manager role, also, right? Definitely, that prioritizing the task will definitely help a lot. I would say,
Right.
right? For me, also, when I initially moved, I tried to do everything by my own because I was not knowing about delegation and other things, which I learned eventually. But
Yeah,
again, like the prioritizing part help a lot, and we as a recruiter have to be very much organized, right, with the
that's right.
data or other things as well. Great.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share from your end,
Probably, I would like to ask you a question because
Yep.
I've been closely watching you, and I know you probably for some times since your Adobe days, right? So you have groomed from a IC to a manager, right? Now you know how the world looks like being an IC recruiter versus being managing a set of recruiters, right? So what is the what is something which you love, and second thing, what is something which is really challenging and sometimes which will might keep you on your toes, Praful?
Okay. So what I love is I love to serve people, right? In general, right? So I love to help people around, right? Somehow, uh, I did my engineering, but in engineering I never fall in love with programming and all. But after that, I when I did my MBA and all, I felt that I am a people person, right? But
Yeah.
again, like initially I was kind of an introvert. I hesitated a lot talking to people, but eventually I tried my best, pushed me myself out, try to put myself in a tough situation where I can expose myself and I can know myself in a better way,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I know, that I'm a people person. Second thing what I have also learned is like, when you are an IC, right, it's very much easy for you to do the things much faster way, right?
Yes.
It's nothing, not much of the things are dependent on other people. It's your role, you are assigned to a certain role, you wanted to grow, you can deliver on those roles, you can grow faster, plus you can keep on learning new things, right? But when you become a manager, right, you have to think how to motivate your team, how to grow your team. It's not your individual growth anymore, right? If your team is growing, then you can grow,
Yeah.
right? And what I have learned is, personally, uh, not everyone will work as per your expectation, right? Because every individual is different, right? Every individual have their own certain style of working. We can do everything by our own, but if you become a manager, right, you have to handle for certain time, but you have to give the liberty to that individual recruiter to explore, fail, learn, and again, when he or she need you, you have to be there as a support system as well.
Yeah.
Only the tough thing I would say is like, uh, when your team, you try to build your team from scratch, you try to help your team to learn and grow, but if your team is not dedicated enough for the work, it's take lots of your effort.
Right.
uh, Again, you want your team to grow, but your team is not focused
Yes.
himself or herself to grow. That
Yeah.
time it's become very difficult for a manager to motivate and all.
That's right. And I think, yeah, like probably for any individual, right, there will be a particular situation or a moment where they realize what they want to be. Like how during your graduation to MBA days, like you probably wanted to groom into recruiting. Like you felt that you were an introvert, and later on recruiting, but now you see yourself is a complete different person.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So I think these kind of situations will come in everyone's career. Probably we have to wait and watch what's in the store. And second thing, what I want to ask is, since you're a people leader, right? Like recruiter, hiring a recruiter is one of the toughest, role in the market. Like especially when you have a set of expectations, and you're not going to compromise on the expectations, right? So do you still feel that, for example, you want to hire a recruiter and they're not matching up to your expectations, or have you been in this kind of situations, or if you have actually been in, like what actually you have done to recruit the right talent?
Okay, so I have interviewed multiple candidates for recruiters for my team as well, right? So one of the successful thing what I have seen is like, someone who is very passionate about their work, right? Someone who is willing to learn. In general, like, if the person have a good attitude, right, you can mold him or her very easily.
Yeah.
Compared to person is very technical, at the time it's very difficult for you to mold the person accordingly, because the attitude of him or her might not be there to get mold.
That's right.
He
Yeah.
or she might believe that I already know so much of thing, and it's make the managers work difficult to help him grow in the next level, or next role, I would say. So in short, definitely a person with attitude, good attitude, learning appetite is number one priority for me, compared to any skill can be learned.
Yep. Yep. That's right. So hire actually for the attitude, and the skill can actually be trained, right? So yep.
Yes. Any other point you want to share with the audience?
No, I think pretty much like I mean, like I usually put my thoughts on LinkedIn whenever I get to hear something. Probably you can follow me and look at my probably upcoming or past post to read my thought process. So that could be for recruiting fraternity as actually, both for recruiters and people who are open for opportunities.
Great, great. So thank you, Rakesh. It was a very wonderful discussion, I would say. We have talked lots of different things, from starting off a career to diversity to AI. You also asked a couple of questions about how I see, or how I have moved
Yeah.
from IC to manager role as well, right? So definitely, I feel that the information which we have provided today, which will be much more useful